Tried my hardest to avoid ever having to make this video. I didn't ever want this to become my reality, but I don't think I can deny the copium huffers. So here it is. We're finally releasing the sub rotation guide. Welcome back, gamers. Let's talk subtlety. And in today's video, I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know about the subtlety rotation and how to maximize your DPS as much as humanly possible so that you can blast stupidly hard in any raid that you're in. This is my third and final video in my mini-series teaching you how to play every single spec for the Rogue class in Cataclysm. If you haven't checked out the other two guides, links will be in the description below. In this video, I will teach you how to use your fairly large opener, your cooldown rotation, your standard rotation, how to optimize your trinket usage, and how to use your engineering cooldowns to get as much DPS as you can. For any questions about the guide, the spec used, and armor choices, as well as anything else that you could possibly have questions for, feel free to join my Discord, where we have a rapidly expanding community of rogues ready to answer any and all questions that you might have related to the rogue class. And with that being said, let's get on to the video. Getting right into the opener. The first thing you're going to do before a boss is one of two things. If there is trash before the boss you're about to pull, get 5 combo points, redirect them into whatever boss you're on. If there's no trash, or you're coming off of a wipe, you're going to slide into your Resto Druid's DMs. Offer to sacrifice your firstborn to them so that they'll put heals on you so that you can use Honor Among Thieves to get 5 combo points on the boss before the pull. When the pull is about to go out, you're going to pop recoup at 3 seconds, sprint, pop your pre-pot, stealth, then immediately pop premeditation, slice and dice, and then run into the boss and ambush on the pull. After ambush, you will apply Hemo. If you are at 5 combo points, pop Rupture. If not, you will wait for Honor Among Thieves or backstab, then Rupture at 5 combo points. After this, proceed to backstab spam until 5 combo points and then eviscerate. After this, your Find Weakness buff from using ambush should be falling off, so you want to pull energy. This is a good time to pop this ulti. Shadow Dance. Shadow Step immediately. Spam ambush and eviscerate at 5 combo points. After Shadow Dance has fallen off, spam backstab to 5 combo points, then refresh Slice and Dice as it will be close to falling off at this point. Then pay attention to Find Weakness. As it's about to fade, pop Vanish, hit pre-med again, and then ambush, pop Preparation, then refresh Recoup as it will be close to falling off. Continue on with your normal rotation, and then Vanish again as Find Weakness is falling off alongside Shadow Step, and ambush again to extend Find Weakness another 10 seconds. From this point, and though that's a doozy,
wait a minute,
you enter your normal rotation. I know sub sounds like it has a complex rotation, but it simply comes down to this. All you want to do is weave between refreshing recoup, rupture, slice and dice, and hemorrhage. The easiest way to do this is by refreshing a rupture using eviscerate at 5 combo points. Then at the time, whatever is low, either slice and dice or recoup, refresh at 5 combo points. Then hitting another rupture to refresh, and then finally refreshing slice or recoup whatever you didn't refresh before that last rupture you just used. I want to make a note here after spending my own time playing subtlety. The one thing that ended up screwing up my rotation was refreshing slice and dice and recoup right after one another, or trying to send a 5 combo point slice and dice and recoup on pull. This usually forces them to fall off at a similar time to each other and does one of two things. Either causes downtime with one of those buffs or causes your rupture to fall off. So it's very important to get into the cadence of refreshing a buff, sending an eviscerate, and repeating that for the entire fight, as refreshing both your recoup and slice and dice at the same time can nerf the hell out of your DPS. Outside of that, remember to keep your hemorrhage up so that your rupture is doing increased damage, and boom, you have the normal sub rotation down. Just make sure to use your Shadow Dance off cooldown paired with Shadow Step every 1 minute, and your Engie Glove enchant, as well as your tailoring buff if you use it, and you're pretty much set from there. If you guys are struggling to manage all of these debuffs / buffs, I strongly recommend getting a weak aura pack like Foji's Rogue weak aura pack or Murfin's, because that's what I use, as well as Lebowski's. These will help you keep track of your buff / debuff timers all in one location and make it really easy to have 100% uptime on all these buffs, as well as just a great way to track your cooldown usage. Now let's talk about trinkets, mastery sets, and optimizing. For any of you optimization nerds, sub is certainly the spec for you. Combat and Assassination don't offer half the min-maxing that sub does in terms of just raw, weird, cheeky stuff you can do to make sure it pumps. Whether that be putting trinkets on ICD on pulls, mastery sets for slice and dice, the world is really yours when it comes to this. Firstly, Shadow Dance is a 1 minute cooldown that lines up perfectly with both Sword Guard Embroidery and Synapse Springs. Luckily for sub, we don't have any unused trinkets in our BIS list, so we never have to worry about desyncing our gloves with our Shadow Dance. Whenever you pop Shadow Dance, you can very simply make a macro that will automatically use your Synapse Springs, as well as Serenite Bombs if you're really min-maxing to the fullest, so that you can line both of these CDs up perfectly with one another for a strong burst window. And if you are a tailor, because Sword Guard Embroidery is on a 1 minute cooldown that basically automatically procs off of cooldown, you get another bonus as well, just for your burst phase. Secondly, if you want to have a really strong opener, there are 2 different methods you can use to increase your DPS on the opener. Some sub-rogue gamers have talked about using mastery sets to increase the haste value you get from slice and dice on your first slice and dice used. One method is just to stack as much additional mastery as possible. Rather than using a 5 combo point recoup, you swap that 5 combo point recoup before the pull with a slice and dice and then pre-med into recoup. That way you can have a fat juicy slice and dice at the start of the pull. Or using a mastery set that also has a 2-piece Slayer tier from TBC that gives a 5% haste bonus that you get to slice and dice, then quickly swapping into your normal gear before the pull goes out. The only exception to this rule is trinkets, because we don't want to mess with our trinket ICDs unless it's to benefit our Shadow Dance directly on the pull. For both the raw mastery set and the mastery set with Slayers, feel free to join the Discord, as I will have links to both in the sub FAQ channel, as well as the Shadow Dance macro and the pre-pull macro that works for both mastery set users and non-mastery set users alike. Trinket choice is very clear and easy to manage for Subtlety. You don't generally want to use Riddle because mastery, even though it is a good stat, isn't as important to us as haste, and otherwise desyncs our synapse springs anyways. Subtlety opts for Essence of the Cyclone in its best in slot alongside Press Doors, because who doesn't love haste as a rogue? Generally speaking, we don't want to sit and wait on trinket procs with Shadow Dance, because the biggest damage bonus we receive from Shadow Dance is that it's a very low cooldown that gives us the benefit of the Find Weakness debuff. But that doesn't mean that we can't optimize our Shadow Dance as well as Vanish with our trinkets if we know our fight timers. Because Vanish also offers a good way for us to get the Find Weakness debuff and isn't subject to us wanting to rip it off of cooldown for the sake of uptime in most circumstances, because it's a much longer cooldown, we really get to pick and choose when the best time for us to use Vanish is. Whenever we are nearing the execute phase of a boss, we have a good chance to line up Vanish with either Cyclone or Press Doors. It's generally better used here so that Find Weakness also benefits from that crit or haste bonus than randomly off cooldown. I'll give you an example. You're on Chimeron, and you kill the boss in roughly 4 minutes. You know without a shadow of a doubt that you're going to get 3 Vanishes, 1 extra because of preparation during that fight time. That means when Vanish comes off cooldown during the tail end of the fight, I'm no longer worried about popping Vanish the moment it comes off of cooldown for the sake of not wanting to waste another Vanish later on in the fight. That means I can choose Vanish whenever it best suits me. In most circumstances, we would want to pair this with our second combat pot, a trinket proc or 2, and if we can, a Shadow Dance if it's available. In the last minute of a fight, in most circumstances, we can guarantee a Cyclone proc and about 85% of the time guarantee a Press Doors proc. So for your second burst window, always be looking out / aware of potential moments where you can string along Find Weakness from Vanish or Shadow Dance with your combat pot as well as your trinkets to maximize your DPS. Now let's talk about professions. As it currently stands, tailoring and engineering are the top dog for Subtlety, because Synapse Springs and Swordguard Embroidery both come off cooldown at the same time that Shadow Dance does. Because of this, they are by far the best option until epic gems get released and blacksmithing takes over tailoring. We don't have the sims for this yet, but Sub might still even value Swordguard Embroidery more over blacksmithing because it reliably procs with Shadow Dance every single minute. When we have more information about that, I will keep you guys updated. And then lastly, let's talk about racials. We're going to go top to bottom on what the best racials are, starting with Troll. Troll offers Berserking, a 3-minute cooldown, which is by far the best racial for any rogue spec, as it offers 20% attack speed for 10 seconds, which pairs perfectly with Shadow Dance, usually at the start of the fight and or our third or execute window Shadow Dance, as well as a passive in the form of 5% extra damage to beasts. Not great on most fights, but it works on Chimeron, so not without its benefits. In second place, we have Blood Fury, which is a 2-minute cooldown that offers us attack power that also pairs perfectly with Shadow Dance and can be used every odd Shadow Dance. In third place, surprisingly, we have Night Elf. Night Elf gets Shadow Melt, a 2-minute cooldown that allows us to re-enter stealth and get off a cheeky ambush, which will put us back into the Find Weakness stage. The sim hasn't implemented Shadow Meld for Find Weakness yet, but this could honestly make it outright better than Orc, but more than likely not better than Berserking. In fourth place, we have Worgen, which gives us 2 racials. One comes in the form of a passive, which is just bonus crit, and the other is a 40% movement speed that can help us limit downtime on bosses that are maybe moving or when we have to dodge mechanics. Not the best, but out of all the specs, Sub values crit more than Assassination in combat, so not too bad either. And lastly, Gnome. They don't offer a massive boost or any sort of DPS cooldown, but they do offer expertise with daggers, which can be a nice boost to allow us to reforge less of our stats into expertise and more into other stats like haste. As it currently stands, Sub does less damage as a spec and is a lot more complicated than Assassination's easy spam and venom and refresh rupture rotation. But for anyone trying to spice up their time in raids, Sub still has very competitive single target DPS and only does about 400 DPS behind what Assassination does in full bis. This spec is a ton of fun to play, and the more I do play it, the more I enjoy and feel rewarded by the gameplay loop it offers. But anyways, with that being said, gamers, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you didn't, feel free to flame me about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.